What's up, guys? So today marks 2 years since the release of Spider-Man 2. It came out October 20th, 2023. Today is October 20th, 2025. The time leading up to this game felt like it took forever, but the time afterward went by pretty fast. So yeah, today in this video, I just wanted to talk about that, as well as some things I think the game could have done a little better, and some things I think the game did really well, as well as some things that I think could improve in Spider-Man 3. New additions and things like that, pretty much. So I guess just starting off with the hype, right? In 2021, like June 2021, at a State of Play or Showcase, PlayStation Showcase, they finally showed Spider-Man 2. Just a quick little teaser showing off Peter and Miles and Venom, I believe. They went radio silent for about 2 years up until May of 2023, where they showed off some gameplay, and that fed us for a good amount of time. And even after that, they still dropped snippets here and there, giving us more information on the game, gameplay wise and story wise. And that hype carried over up until the game came out, even after the game came out, when people finished the game and things like that. But I guess it wasn't up until the initial honeymoon phase that people start to realize the faults of Spider-Man 2. Even though the game was still really good, I doubt most people would say it was anything less than an 8 out of 10. I think now if you asked most people, they would agree that the game could have been a little better in certain departments, certain aspects, because naturally when you're really excited for a game while you're playing it, the game, of course, when it's good also, you don't realize that some things just aren't as good as they could be. And of course that's the case for a lot of games, but specifically for Spider-Man 2, you could really tell that they were missing certain things, and that certain things were rushed, certain things were cut out to get the game out on time. I think this was the case story-wise and even gameplay-wise. Story-wise, at a certain point, I think they really decided to just fast track it, because when we look at the symbiote arc, right, that's where a lot of people really realize that the game was cut short, or that they had to speed up the process a little bit. Because when Peter has the symbiote, he only has it for, I think, really a few days. And while you're playing as him, of course, depending on how you play, you might have the symbiote for a long time. But also, if you're not really playing that much, if you're not doing that many side things, the symbiote arc doesn't feel that long. I'm not saying they should drag it out, or they should have dragged it out, but I do think it could have been a little bit longer. You could see the progression of Peter with the symbiote. You could see how, as he used it more and more, that he was becoming more and more aggressive like Venom. And that was good. What they did with that was good, was great, but I do think it could have been, they could have took a little more time with that, right? It could have been a little slowed down. Peter has it for like a few days, a few weeks, probably like a few weeks before he really starts to, get angry with the symbiote, before he starts to show those signs of aggression, and even before he starts to realize that he wants and even thinks he needs the symbiote. I think if it were done like that, it would have been a little bit better. And again, that's not to say that the way they did it was bad by any means, because it was still done really well, but the fact that they had to cut it short, I think, really messed with that. And then looking gameplay wise, the gameplay, of course, like the combat and all that was improved, right? Of course, it was way better than, I'd say, both games. Some people would say they like Miles Morales better, but I think, well, I guess I can't say objectively, right? But I think for the most part, the gameplay is better than both games, both previous games, Miles Morales and Spider-Man PS4. But gameplay wise, I mean the side missions and the open world missions, right? Like the random crimes that you do. I think those took a major hit, right? Like I feel like there's only 3 different things you can do in terms of like random crimes. There might be a few more, but those aren't really sprinkled that much throughout the game, I feel. You have the random thugs, which I feel you didn't get that much. You have, the symbiotes at the end of the game, which I feel you get too much when you get to the end of the game. And you have those fire cultist guys. You still have stopping those car chases as well, but those are really sped up, like they're fast track, I guess, because they thought you're Spider-Man, you shouldn't be having to really put that much effort into this. So now when you swing throughout the city and you see a car chase, all you have to do really is press like 2 buttons to stop the car, which I didn't really, complain about. I didn't mind, because I guess it was more realistic, if you want to say that. But when you look at the first 2 games, Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales, I feel like there was a good variety, and they were sprinkled all throughout the game. One didn't necessarily take over, like, like I said before, the symbiote missions, the symbiote crimes, especially when you finish the game. I feel like that's all you do, that's all you really, yeah, you really do in terms of the crimes you stop. Whereas the first games, I feel like you had a lot of the random thugs you fought. You had the stopping random thugs, where like there was that mission where I think they would maybe trying to mug some people. It was a bunch of them, right? And you had to go stop them each individually. There would be like 5 or 6 guys, maybe more, and you had to chase them down individually. You couldn't let them get away, and if you weren't quick enough, some of them would get away. You had the Sable guys, you had Martin Lee's guys, you had the Raft Escapees, and within those you had different missions within those groups. Same thing with Miles Morales, right? You had the Raft Escapees, you had random thugs, you had Finn's guys, the Underground, that's their name. And again, within those different groups, you had a good amount of different missions for those groups, different, I guess, crimes. But in terms of the actual gameplay side of things, I think most people would agree that the gameplay was an improvement over the past 2 games, though there are some people I'd say who wouldn't completely agree, just because the gadget stuff, all the gadgets you have in the first 2 games, those took a downgrade, I'd say, a down size, if you want to say. First game, I think you had like 8 to 10 different gadgets you could use, maybe not that many, but it was still a good amount. Miles Morales, there were like 4 or 5 gadgets you had, but in Spider-Man 2, I think the gadgets are like 4 or 5 also, and you barely really use them. So yeah, those are just a few things I think moving on into Spider-Man 3, which will most likely come out around 2030. I think that should be worked on in the next game. And like I said before, there were some things that were cut, and you can just tell that some things were cut throughout the story to speed up the process a little bit, because they didn't have enough time and they had to get the game out at a certain time. I remember a little bit after the game came out, there were some leaks, some gameplay leaks that showed off the destruction, like destructible environments just when you're fighting randomly. There are still destructible environments to an extent, but the extent that was shown in these gameplay leaks was not the same as what we got in the game. I just think overall this game was supposed to be bigger and better than it was when it came out. And it's crazy because that's the thing, this game was bigger and better than both the 2 previous Spider-Man games that came out, but it's like they almost went halfway with it. And I don't even like to say halfway, because that's like taking credit away from what they've done, because they really did improve the open world overall, but because of the things that I mentioned before, it, like I said, it kind of takes a hit. Almost a year after Spider-Man 2 came out, there were some leaks showing that there were DLC plans, but they canceled those plans. We went a long time without hearing anything, anything regarding DLC for Spider-Man 2. Everybody was hungry for some more, but, we got nothing at the end of the day, which is crazy because with Spider-Man PS4, we got like 3 different DLC stories, right? They were all a part of the same thing, but there were 3 different drops. Spider-Man 2018 came out in September of 2018. Then I think the first part of City That Never Sleeps was July. Okay, hold up. So I am completely off. The release date for The City That Never Sleeps, the Heist DLC, the first part of that DLC, was in October. The second part was in November, the last part was in December, so not much time was passed between the DLC and the original game coming out. And we went like a year without seeing anything in hopes that we'd get something. I don't know why we even believed we'd get anything, to be honest. It's crazy that this game came out and after that we just got nothing. I mean, of course we all still really love and appreciate the game, but man, like, it's crazy. So yeah, I mean, moving on to Spider-Man 3, hopefully this game, I don't think they're going to expand the map even more. Honestly, I don't really think, I mean, it's possible, but I don't think they're going to do that. They might do it. They might add like one more section to the map, right? And that's it. I don't think they should do any more, because then that'd just be probably a little too big. And remember, bigger, it doesn't always equal better. It's like quality over quantity, essentially. Honestly, I don't think I would mind them keeping the map as it is right now, just filling it up with a little more things. Actually, a lot more things to do. A lot more variation in the crimes that we get, the crimes that we can solve, a lot more side missions, more enemy types, more factions. And I also don't think they should shy away from having their story be a little longer than it normally is. I feel like that's what happened with Spider-Man 2. Again, it seemed like they were cut short, so they had to shorten the length of the overall game. And I think the runtime is about the same as Spider-Man PS4. I think on average, Spider-Man 2's runtime, like for the average player, is like 21 to 25 hours. So I think for Spider-Man 3, they should probably try to get somewhere between 28 and 32 hours, just a little longer, but not too much. And again, that's not just the story, but the overall kind of length of you doing everything, mixing in missions, side missions, main missions, things like that. Because if you straight up run through the story, you can finish the game in like 12 hours probably. And honestly, I think for a Spider-Man game, that should be just a little longer, you know? Also, another thing I want to talk about are the characters. So of course in Spider-Man 2, we have Peter and Miles. You got to balance out the two characters, but it did look like at the end of Spider-Man 2, they introduced another character, Silk. Well, at least, you know, Cindy Moon, right? She becomes Silk in the comics, another spider person. Are they going to go that route in Spider-Man 3? Don't know, have no clue. If they do though, that's going to be even tougher to manage. An idea that I guess sort of pitched was that they shouldn't have Cindy Moon get her powers up until like the middle of the game, right? So that she can kind of train with Peter and Miles a little bit, just so you have a way to balance out the characters, right? Having three characters, having to balance three characters in one game, that's a lot for anybody. So I say have her get her powers at some point in the middle of the game, have her train a little bit. You know, you can have it be some main missions, right? You can do that, train her a little bit, then at the end of the game, you know, where there's like the big bad boss fight or whatever, you have her there. If you introduce her with her powers early on, then you have almost no excuse to have her not be a playable character. And if you try to balance three different characters, it's gonna feel like you don't have enough time with each character, and that's a problem. I think that's a problem you don't want to have in Spider-Man 3, which is most likely going to be the last, at least, major game. And if you want us to have more time with Silk, you want to flesh out her character a little more, just give her own game, her own Miles Morales type of game, right? 5-6 hours to complete, a good amount of time. And also, like I mentioned before, DLC. Spider-Man 3's gotta have DLC going for it. I don't think you should release a game. You take 5, 6, 7 years to release another game, and you just drop it and you drop nothing else after that. For Spider-Man 3, I believe they've got to go all in, especially with the fact that they missed a lot of things. They missed on a lot of fronts with Spider-Man 2. But yeah, this video was all over the place, I think, but let me know what you guys think in the comments, because you know, I think a lot of people have some of the same thoughts that I have regarding Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3, I guess. Being the 2-year anniversary for Spider-Man 2 was an excuse for me to make this video. I've kind of talked about this here and there in different videos, but you know, this video I think was due. But yeah, of course, let me know in the comments what you think. I didn't mention, of course, Wolverine is coming out fall of next year, so we have that to look forward to by Insomniac Games. Don't even have to ask if you're excited for that, because I know everybody is. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, like it up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.